Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
All right, party people, welcome back to Zero Dark Nerdy, the world's most notorious culture podcast, brought to you by the Believe Podcast Network and betonline.ag for all your sports betting needs. This is your boy Brian, a.k.a. El Nino, and today I'm joined with...
This is Jordan Brown, a.k.a. Doodoo Brown. Yep.
As well as...
Hi, Ryan Saba, Captain Cleveland. Browns, Cavs, Guardians, CLE, till I die, baby.
There he is. So we've been talking about this for like the last week or so. We have not done a music episode in a while, and we figured today that we would do favorite debut albums of all time. So I believe we got a list of top 3 to 5, some honorable mentions in there, some fun facts, and be able to go from there. Knowing the three of us, I'm sure we're going to be all across the spectrum. So, maybe we'll just do a couple each and round robin. Of course, we want to know what some of your favorite debut albums are. So be sure to reach out to us on our social media platforms, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, all over the place. Let us know what some of your favorite debuts are. We do have some merch and
Pin me.
stickers. What's that?
I said pin me.
Pin them. Etsy. You got to tell them about your Etsy store there, Brian.
You what?
Yeah. I'm making fucking jewelry and lingerie.
There he is. I want to hear the name of this line. Captain Cleveland's Tasty Lingerie.
I don't know. I didn't think that one through.
Tasty lingerie.
Tasty Lingerie.
Yeah, baby.
Straight from Cleveland. Well, speaking of Captain Cleveland, why don't we start with you there, bud? What are some of your favorite debuts of all time?
Dude, I'm going to be like totally honest. This was really hard for me. So we're going to do a little preface here.
Okay.
I only put albums on my list that I experienced them dropping, right? I as I was going through this list or kind of doing the research, when an album would come up, I would think about like how it made me feel at the time. So everybody knows I'm a huge Prince fan, but when Prince's debut album came out in 1977 or 78 or whatever it was, I wasn't around.
They were like 14
I
years
was
old.
gonna say.
So Chris Flathers was in high school. All right. So just to mix it up a little bit, because my list leans very heavy towards one genre. And I think you guys know which genre that is.
BetOnline.ag is your number one source for all your basketball info, stats, news, and scores. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest player reports for this year's pro basketball playoffs. BetOnline is your sports information headquarters this season, as we have you covered for all your sports wagering needs. Basketball, MLB, NHL hockey, right to UFC and boxing. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info, including live betting options and your favorite casino, as well as card games that you can play right from your home. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Be sure to use our promo code BELIEVE, that is BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts.
That is. I'm actually going to talk about the last album. I was trying to think. I think this is actually the last album, the last CD that I purchased. Okay. And it's my honorable mention. 2012, Frank Ocean, Channel Orange. I'm an R&B guy. I'm a hip hop and R&B guy. I mean, I've been around for some of the best R&B singers of the last 40 years. There's a lot on that list. But when Frank Ocean came out with that album, you could kind of tell it was a little something different. You know what I mean? Thinking About You is a song that even today, when I hear about it, I love it. There's another song on that album called Pyramids. And if you have not heard it, go listen to it. It's kind of like a strip club anthem. It's really, really good. So that's my honorable mention. That was the last one. Now, there's 2 albums that you probably think are on my list that aren't. And I'm actually going to maybe not necessarily say they're overrated, but I'm going to say that they were overshadowed. All right. Now, no particular order. the number, the first one I'm going to talk about is Dr. Dre's The Chronic. Dr. Dre's The Chronic is the first CD I ever owned. I was in 5th grade. Came out in 1992.
And you purchased it. You went to
my mother purchased it for me. She didn't know at the time that there was a pot leaf on it. And let's hope that mom isn't listening to this.
She had the album.
Yeah. Shout out Mom Dukes. What I would say is, at 10 years old, right? Like everything that kind of came before that, up until that point, I was listening to like MC Hammer and Vanilla Ice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this was obviously very, very different. And, Dr. Dre created that whole G-Funk sound. And I'm going to be honest, for a long time, let's call it 5, 6, 7 years, the West Coast, because Dr. Dre and that Chronic album was so important to me, and it was kind of my entrance into real hip hop, it overshadowed some of the East Coast launches at the time.
See what you're saying?
You know what I mean? And you got to think about it. Once Dre put the Chronic out, the next year Snoop came out, right? And then they had the whole Tupac Coming to Death Row thing. Like that West Coast, not to mention my best friend growing up, Ben Spees. Shout out to Ben. Love you, buddy. But like this dude was listening to like Too Short, to Spice One. Like my whole group of friends were very impacted by that West Coast sound. So I became very West Coast centric. So some of those East Coast albums at the time, they don't show up on my list. Okay.
Sure.
And I think it's important to highlight that. Next one on the list. This one came out turn of the century, and it was a brand new sound from a brand new place. It's called Lord Willin' by a little group called The Clips, who had a producer named Pharrell that at the time nobody really knew who Pharrell was. When the last time you heard it like this? Grinding, that whole thing, that whole like skateboard, Virginia Beach sound. And there's a song on that album called Comedy Central that if you have not listened to it, go out and listen to it. That album was, it just changed. It changed me because the sound was so different. It was so great. Another album, number 3 on my list. No particular order, just the third. Okay. All right. Next album. This dude was different in a way that he was so fucking grimy and gutter and street. There was nobody like him really before. There really hasn't been anybody like him since. And it was an album called It's Dark and Hell is Hot by a rapper named Earl Simmons, and everybody else knows him as DMX.
R.I.P.
When that, I'm getting goosebumps right now just talking about it. He opened that album with a prayer. And at that time, you had never heard that before. Like, this is a dude that, he's barking and growling, and he's praying. And then he's got the Rough Riders anthem. How's it going down? I Can Feel It is a deep cut off it's got the Phil Collins beat. I can feel it in the air. Awesome. But the song, I can't do it. But last but not least, if I had to pick a number one, I think a freshman in college, maybe a sophomore in college.
80.
And there was this guy that everybody had heard about, right? Like it was sort of the underground rapper that had gotten shot and sort of had this Tupac aura. You had heard that he signed with Shady Aftermath. And, at the time it's like, all right, what's this dude? What's he got coming? And, the start of that album is the sound of a quarter dropping on a desk and spinning. And then they go right into the song, What Up Gangsta? And it's Get Rich or Die Trying by 50 Cent. Again, I'm getting goosebumps because it's taking me back to a time and a place in my life. That album was fucking bangers from beginning to end. Boy. So you get The Change, then you get What Up Gangsta, then you get Patiently Waiting, where he brings Eminem out right away. Boom. Then you had In the Club, which at that time was the big sort of first of all, radio hit everywhere that you went.
That's still the big radio hit.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah. And then Don't Push Me is another one that's kind of a deep cut later on. But that's the list, man. The Chronic, Lord by Dr. Dre, Lord Willin' by the Clips, It's Dark and Hell is Hot by DMX, and Get Rich or Die Trying by 50 Cent. That is the list.
Love it. Love it. Good list. Good list right there. I think the only surprise. Scream 6 on digital now. Ghostface is back and more terrifying than ever on a rampage in the Big Apple. Melissa Barrera, Jenna Ortega, and Courtney Cox star in the sensational slasher hit Scream 6, directed by Matt Bettinelli and Tyler Gillette. Get over an hour of killer bonus content when you buy on digital. Available at participating retailers. Rated R. Surprise, and not too much of a surprise, is probably Clips, but I think that's a great choice. Great debut album. Like you said, production from Pharrell. Grinding is still one of my at least top 5 favorite hip hop.
There just wasn't a sound like that at the time. You know what I mean? And that's, if you think about kind of my list, right? It was something different at the time, right? The G-Funk thing was different. DMX was way fucking different from anything else you were hearing. The Clips. And then 50, 50 just had this whole, like I said, this whole fucking aura around him. Like he was this fictional fucking hero that had this like Tupac thing going where he could, bounce back from getting shot. Like, I don't know, man. It's just all those albums. Man, I love it.
Good shit. Zeba. Jordan Brown.
What the hell
we got going on over here?
Well, I'm gonna tell y'all, King No Notes over here is really struggling with this.
I used my phone this time. If it makes you feel any better.
It kind of does. I'm using mine as well.
So you got notes?
I've got random ideas that I'm
That's good.
to clutch at.
Those are notes, baby.
I've got Bushmack.
Hey, baby steps. Baby steps.
Well, look, I also figured we would be bouncing back and forth, and each person would not have to go after Saba, who is always the best speaker in the group. So, and has the prettiest shirt on. So you
want me to go?
I mean, no, not really. Because then I'll have to go after the both of you. my list is not gonna there's gonna be a dip.
Well, if you want to do one, then I'll do one.
I'm the valid. Okay. Well, you're probably gonna bite off of my music more than Saba would.
Bite off of your what?
You're gonna bite my music off. Okay. So I've got
Get Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves on digital today. Chris Pine and Michelle Rodriguez star in this hilarious and action-packed adventure where a band of unlikely heroes must undertake an epic heist to retrieve a lost relic. Buy or rent Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves on digital today. Rated PG-13 from Paramount Pictures.
My runner-up, honorable mention, let's say, is a very small German band named Rammstein, and their debut album Sehnsucht.
Du hast me.
Which many bands have redone that. Actually, there were a couple of other ones on there, but when I think of Rammstein, their next album Mutter was a 10 out of 10 out of 10. And this one, of course, had Du Hast on it, so I'd have to say, okay, so that was my runner-up. I would honestly, completely switching gears here, have to say a debut album that really fucking just factory resetted me was,
did you factory reset?
Here's the problem.
It literally happened.
Here's the Billie Eilish's "Don't Smile at Me." Factor, because this is in 2017. Back, I was religiously only listening to metal music. So when my brother sent me just sent me the song in a text message. It was Copycat. He sent me the song Copycat in a text message. He was like, "Hey, you might like this. It's really different and not what you listen to at all." Shout out Skylar Brown, my brother, Skylar. He sent that to me. I remember exactly where it was. I was standing in my kitchen, in my one of my ex-girlfriends was just standing right beside me, and I sat there and put my earphones in and just listened to the entire song. Just like, what the fuck did I just listen to? Downloaded the whole album, listened to it right there in my kitchen I'm sure my girlfriend was probably bitching at me or talking or something. You know how they go. But
Women be shopping.
no, they're great. All of them, every single one. It was amazing. Every single song off that album was just so different, so beautiful. Her and her brother Phineas, or whatever the fuck his name is, were just
That's his name.
Phineas. Okay. But let's see, there's that fantastic album in 2017. I have two more. System of a Down,
Nice.
their first album, self-titled album, System of a Down, which not a lot of people heard because it got overshadowed, or they rose to insane fame when Toxicity came out and blew the fucking. I mean, that's how I heard about them.
Yeah.
Chop
Yeah.
Suey.
I heard about them because they opened up for Limp Bizkit, and that's what overshadowed them when the first album came out. Was more of the
Speaking
new
of-
metal. Yeah.
Speaking of a Limp Bizkit, their first album was not that great. $3 Bill, y'all. That was not that good. But woo, their next two
We're not talking about second album.
I'm sorry, okay? Okay, so then I would have to say I have a tie for the two, my top number one. My number one is two separate albums, but one is Audioslave, their self-titled album, Audioslave. From start to finish, one of the best rock albums of all time. Do not come at me with that. And also, I think it's very, very hard to not mention Linkin Park Hybrid Theory
Oh, good choice.
because the troubles they had to go through to make that album, get the characters in play. It was some executive that like said he wasn't going to join or he wasn't going to take the job role if this band wouldn't get signed because no one wanted to sign. At the time, their name was Hybrid Theory,
Right.
so they had to.
And it was before Chester joined the band too.
Right. So then after they got signed, they put Chester on.
Yeah.
Blew the fuck up. Very good. Very good. Very good. All right, B Hearn, what you got,
All right.
brother?
Good list. Good list there.
Thank you for that. I feel like I deserved a little hip hop air horn.
There you go. So I'll start with my honorable mentions, and I don't want to go down this list because, like Saba said, it was tough for me. So my kind of process is an album that I wore out, like start to finish. Just absolutely loved it. The majority of these, I was there in the moment when they dropped. At least remember hearing the first single on MTV, that kind of thing. So that was where I was gauging my top five. Like I wore the album out. It's practically flawless beginning to end. And then just kind of bringing back the memory. So honorable mentions, there's three that really almost made the list. First one, Taking Back Sunday, Tell All Your Friends.
Goodness.
I know. I just had to go there. It's just
I dig that.
It's one of my favorite emo albums of all time. I think there's maybe one song on there that I just am not a fan of, and you can just put it on if you're going through a breakup. This is the ultimate CD right here. I mean, like most emo CDs are, right? But it's just a fantastic album. Next one, NWA, Straight Outta Compton, honorable mention. It's just, the epitome of gangster rap, of hardcore hip hop of, LA and Compton. So, and then this one, it was super, super close. Biggie, Ready to Die. It was just, to this day, you know what I mean? No one has a flow like Biggie. It's incredibly unique. When you hear it, you know exactly what it is. Very easy to rap along to. The videos were fantastic. Just the cameo appearances. The Flavor in Your remix when we did our remix episode, still one of the best all-time remixes of all time.
Brooklyn's finest.
That's right. Bedford Stuyvesant. So no particular order. I guess let me start. I'll go with oldest to newest.
Do it how you feel, man. Do it how you feel,
I'm gonna do it
dog.
however I want. So Beastie Boys, License to Ill.
Yes.
November 15th, 1986. Went diamond eventually. You got three Jewish kids from Brooklyn rapping with Rick Rubin out of, at the time, Def Jam was a little dorm room out in NYU between Rick Rubin and Russell Simmons. And it's just a great party album. It's not one of their personal favorites of all time, and they definitely diverted significantly since then, but with hits like Brass Monkey, Paul Revere, No Sleep Till Brooklyn, and honestly, track number one, a lot of these albums, track number one helped influence me a lot. Rhyming and Stealing used a great sample. It's a great album. So Beastie Boys, License to Ill, 1986. My next one, both of these came out in 92. I'm going to go Rage Against the Machine, Rage Against the Machine. Just a completely different sound from what we were used to at the time. Political, obviously, trying to get everything in the forefront that we did not ever learn in history class. And I mean, I just remember seeing the video for Freedom the first time ever. And I mean, it still gives me chills to this day listening to that album. I mean, you got Bomb Track, you got Freedom, Killing in the Name of, Bullet to Your Head.
Fucking set.
Yeah. Dude. I mean, we had the pleasure of seeing them last year.
You could run through a fucking wall listening to that album. not stopping even a little bit.
Exactly. I mean, from Zach's vocals to Tom Morello's, guitar playing, just out of this world. I mean, I remember hearing stories when they first did Lollapalooza that he was pretty much putting on a clinic to other guitar players, them trying to figure out how he got this sound. Like Saba, Dr. Dre, The Chronic, 92, December 15th. I mean, this was, I think it was my first year of middle school. And if you did not have this cassette, like, you weren't shit.
That is a very old-fashioned sentence that you just made there.
Hey,
that's how old we are, bitch.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, hold on now. My first album was cassette was Red Hot Chili Peppers.
There you go. Wait, which album?
Californication.
Okay.
It's still a long time. I mean,
What?
They had like,
came out when I was in college or something.
Yeah, I know. You're old, buddy.
You're not that much old. You're not that much younger than me.
Hey, man, if that helps you go to sleep at night.
But yeah, The Chronic, I mean, it's a masterpiece. There's no other way to say it. Dre's production, leaving NWA and Ruthless Records because of the financial disputes and Eazy-E and company trying to milk them. But to me, it's more obviously the guest appearances on there. I think RBX is the unsung hero of that entire album. Between Stranded on Death Row to High Powered, I think he's probably, him and Snoop are up there for me as far as appearances on The Chronic. Corrupt, Lady of Rage, Daz, the appearances just go on, and it's a hip hop masterpiece, and literally took the light away from New York hip hop and then just shined it directly on LA. So a lot of the groups that Saba's mentioning, then you throw in your like MC8s and Above the Law and E40s, then they started to shine a little bit more because of that light that
you're absolutely right, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, MC8, E40, those are two that I forgot. I mean,
yep.
And also you had movies at the time like Boys in the Hood, South Central, Menace to Society, that just, if you were born in the early to mid 80s and you were in that period of your life, like middle school, in the early to mid 90s / high school, like, you didn't have a choice but to gravitate towards that whole West Coast thing.
Yeah. Yep. It's true. And I mean, it shined a light on a lot of great groups out there, especially like I remember Ice-T. There was a lot that weren't getting any love or recognition until this album came out, and it was monumental for West Coast rap. And I mean, look at the future generations, right? Where you get The Game, you got Kendrick Lamar coming out of Compton. I believe Schoolboy Q on top of that too. So, just the effect that this album has had to West Coast hip hop. And then of course, I mean, Snoop Dogg, the Dog Pound, Lady of Rage, you can go on and on with that Death Row lineup, in particular, Tupac coming over. This album helped bring a little bit of that shine back to New York. Got to go with Enter the Wu-Tang, 36 Chambers, one of my favorite albums of all time. Yeah. Yeah, if Desert Island, these are the 5 albums I want to have. Well, actually, no, I'm not even done yet. So I skipped one. But yeah, Enter the Wu-Tang still
I got 9 more.
How much time we
still
got?
on my honorable mentions, motherfucker.
So yeah, 93 is when it came out. One of the first acts signed to the new Loud Records, entirely produced by the RZA. You got nine guys from Shaolin, aka Staten Island, out there, just grimy. They don't give a shit. They dropped a single that didn't even have a hook on it with Protect Your Neck, and really just changed the game for hip hop. Again, it started bringing more of the spotlight back to New York. Around that same time, you got Illmatic coming out, of course, Biggie coming out. Then you have the solo albums that followed, Method Man Tikal, Old Dirty Bastard, Return to the 36
Tikal.
Chambers, Jizza, Liquid Swords. I mean, the properties that were produced after this are just as magnificent as this album. Some hits, Cream, of course, METHOD Man, as I mentioned, Protect Your Neck, The Mystery of Shadow Boxing. The list truly goes on and on. So go ahead, Saba.
Well, what I was going to say is, that's kind of what I was alluding to. Some albums at the time.
Yeah.
Biggie. What the fuck? My brain's not working. What was Biggie's album? Ready to Die. Ready to Die, Wu-Tang, Jay-Z, Reasonable Doubt, even all the way in 96. Nas, Illmatic. I mean, Nas, Illmatic was one of the the production crew that he had on that with Pete Rock, DJ Premier. The list goes on and on. Large Professor. There's other all of that. Now since then, since I've kind of grown up's probably not the right word, but gotten a little bit older, I had gone back and started listening to it. Now I can appreciate, the Jay-Z's and the Biggies and the Nas's and Wu-Tang, but at the time, man, that's how big of a hold and how much influence the Chronic had on me that I didn't even realize the greatness or even appreciate those albums, at the time. So,
yeah. Okay. Good point. And then you said you had one that.
Oh yeah, I forget. You said something in that tirade of yours. That's not the right word.
And your
it was very eloquent what you've been saying. Everything I've been listening to. No, I don't know how I forgot to the debut album of the Gorillaz.
Oh,
is one of the best.
Yeah, it had Clint Eastwood on it, right?
Wood 192000.
Which you talk about something fucking completely different. I'm 41 years old. I still am not really sure what the Gorillaz are.
There's nothing. There's no genre that they fit into. And at the same time, there's every genre that they fit into. It's absolutely different. The computer animation, the cartoons that Dan the Automator came up with for each personality of each member.
Yep.
You saw the first you saw Clint Eastwood when that music video came on, you sat and watched it every fucking time.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And then you come to find out that this is what they're doing. They're making these guys. This is the band that these guys are the band.
Yeah.
And girl, they're the band.
Yeah.
And it's just, they just came out with a new album, Cracker Island. It's got Pat Benatar on it. It's amazing.
Which that's fucking awesome.
But yes, the Gorillaz,
Good,
very influential.
Good morning,
Dan the Automator, to me, one of the most underrated and underappreciated producers in the game. So be sure to check out. We did an album on favorite producers a few years back. Be sure to check that out. I gave a big shout out to Dan the Automator on there.
Did you have one more?
Yeah, one more.
He said DJ Premier. I'm very surprised you hadn't had your boys on there.
I know.
RTJ1.
I know. But, like I said, it's one of those, I don't love every song on RTJ1. That's the thing.
That's very true.
There's probably 3 or 4 bangers on there, and then the rest are as much as I love RTJ.
Gotcha.
So I was going more for, to me, quality bangers.
Gotcha. Not
how
just
I felt at the time.
Not just influential.
Yeah, because, by the time I got to RTJ1, I believe 2 just dropped, 3 was getting ready to come out.
Gotcha.
So I didn't really.
So you were on the back end.
I wasn't on that train. I was on the back end.
Gotcha.
Yeah. One of my favorite rock albums of all time came out in '94. The Blue Album by Weezer. It was for all of us rock fans, but also for all of us nerds too. It was just
he's a nerd.
Yeah. He is. Rivers is a big nerd. But from start to finish, My Name is Jonas just hits you right in the teeth from the start of the album. Then you get some more of their singles in there. Buddy Holly, Say It Ain't So, the Sweater Song. But, to me, some of the other cuts like Holiday and Surf Wax America, it's a damn near perfect album. I can't think of one song on that album that I do not like or would skip. So that is my list right there. So I'm glad. All right, party goers, something new that we're going to be doing this season for the podcast is when we see you out in public for these amazing events, like we just got done wrapping up doing Free Comic Book Day with our good friends over at Sailfish Comics. So as we got to meet some of our amazing fans out there, one of the prizes that they got is being able to give a shout out on podcast episodes. So for this one, we want to give a big thank you to Daisy. And Daisy is giving a shout out to Anna for her award in movie production, Kylie for her Student of the Year award, Mariah for getting into the surgical tech program at RCC, and last but not least, Flip for being the first in his family to graduate from college. So again, big thank you to all our fans out there, especially Daisy. It's always great to be able to acknowledge everyone that's been a part of this journey, whether if you've been with us since day one 5 years ago, or you're just now finding out about Zero Dark Nerdy. So again, big shout out to Daisy and all her friends out there, and congratulations on all your accomplishments. And if there's anything that Zero Dark Nerdy can do to help with your future, just ambitions, goals, whatever, please feel free to reach out. And we're going to keep this episode going. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you said something a minute ago, Saba, because I wanted to ask you guys, speaking of getting older, you appreciate bands that you maybe did not appreciate growing up.
I got one.
Okay.
Right off.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And I appreciated them a little bit, but now every single time any one of their songs comes on, Cake.
Great. Yep. Excellent.
I don't even know what their first album was, but goddamn it.
Fashion Nugget.
Fashion fucking Nugget. Was Frank Sinatra on that album?
Yes.
Fuck me. Sideways, left, right, up, down, all around my anal cavity.
Yeah.
That album.
So good.
And since, having matured my ear, going back and listening to these very simple songs, I appreciate them a lot more.
Excellent. Saba, what's one group or artist or band that you weren't really feeling when you were younger that you're like, you know what? They ain't that bad.
I got two. The Foo Fighters, I think, is one that at the time when it was happening, I didn't appreciate how fucking amazing Dave Grohl is. Yet everything he does, very similar to Prince in the way that he can kind of just pick up an instrument and he's world class at it. So I appreciate things like that. And another one that's kind of weird, and I've just kind of really started to get into him lately because I was traveling, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, and I watched a Brian Wilson documentary on the airplane, and I didn't realize that like the Beach Boys like didn't know how to surf, and it was all just like, and so I started to go back and listen to their fucking music, and like, dude, there's some genius stuff in that music if you go back and listen to even just their hits. I would say those are the two right now. I mean, look, it could, if we did this again in 2 years, it could be, something completely different. But I would say right now, the two bands that I would say that I've started to listen to a lot more and appreciate a lot more are Foo Fighters and the Beach Boys.
Very good. Like it.
What about you, dog?
So there's one that comes to the top of my head. I listen to Rock 92 in the mornings, and then, occasionally when I go out to lunch, it's still on. But by then it's not, because I didn't change it, obviously. Why not
just say you listen to Rock 92?
Yeah. And unfortunately it's still on. So anyways, by then 2 guys named Chris is over, then they're playing music. And, I like it because it's not the same 10 songs that you hear on every other radio station, right? And I did not like this band at all, and they've definitely grown on me. I want to say Rush, to be honest with you.
Okay,
it's one of those things to where I think the singer's voice, it can be very off-putting, and especially when you're a kid and you're just like, my dad didn't listen to Rush.
It's because he hangs out at fucking Brass Taps. He hangs out at Brass Taps and fucking Suds and Duds. That's why.
Oh, stop it. But yeah, I've grown more of an appreciation. Am I going to go out and get all of their like greatest hits and all that stuff? No, but if it's on, I'm not as likely to change the station as I would have a few years ago.
I always loved Rush.
So. No, he can't.
Hey, hang on for a second, fellas. As always, be sure to check out Believe, the Believe Podcast Network. That is BLEAV.com. BetOnline.ag for all your sports betting needs. Big shout outs to our friends over at Zibster. That is ZIBSTER, responsible for our incredible website. Newsletters back in effect. Monthly newsletter. Be on the lookout for that. You can sign up for it on our website, popculturepodcast.com. Okay. I'm going to have everyone with Zero Dark Nerdy. Peace.
Peace.
Victory! And anger management? Fuck anger management.
Thank you for listening to Believe. You can show support to your host by subscribing to the show and giving us a 5-star rating on your preferred platform. Check us out at Believe.com and search for BLEAV on YouTube.
Hey, it's Michelle Beadle. That's right, the Michelle Beadle. You're welcome. You love talking about sports. I love talking about sports. You know the only thing cooler than talking about sports? Sports! And right now, all your favorite sports are on Sirius XM. I'm talking every NFL game, every game from the NBA, NHL, MLB, every NASCAR race, golf major conference college sports, and all the top games in the WNBA. If it gets your heart pumping, it's on Sirius XM. So start your free trial of Sirius XM today. Visit SiriusXM.com/believe.